Okay, and this is Rory Leahy doing my Halloween project. This is part two, which is another hopefully different, twisted story of a first date. Um, and this one is called "He's Really a Great Guy," which is it has to be said is objectively the most successful thing I've ever written. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but because it was um, uh, published in an anthology for of short plays in 2012, which is the same year I produced it. Um, it went on to it's been done all over. It's been done at high schools and colleges quite frequently because they see it in the book, and it's a lot of fun. It was actually also turned when I was at SIU, Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, a few years ago. I was taking a TV pilot writing class, and I wrote a TV pilot version of the script, and that was super fun. Some really good people working on that. And yeah, so it has been done many times, but this is the world premiere of the prose short story version, which I just wrote over the last couple of days, and it is extremely fun to adapt an old work into a new medium. And there are some of the old jokes and some new jokes and some things that didn't work that I've thrown out, and it's very nice. Anyway, I am going to go ahead and read "He's Really a Great Guy." Annie wasn't sure what to expect from this evening. She hoped it would mostly be a pretty normal night out with her friends Matt and Heather, and not the embarrassing blind date scenario Matt had contrived to take place between Annie and his friend and roommate Dan. Matt and Heather were exes, sort of. Their acquaintance had so far long outlasted their brief dating relationship. To their credit, they'd turned out to be the kind of people who really could be friends after a fizzled romance. Even more surprising considering the carefree player vibe Matt often projected that people who got to know him came to understand was mostly a front for a caring human. Annie had her moments of attraction to Matt herself, but they were fortunately fleeting, as no doubt they both realized they were ultimately not each other's type. The three of them had been part of a happily platonic social circle over 2 years now, which ultimately suited Annie fine, although she found herself slightly regretting expressing single girl laments in front of Matt one too many times, as it had resulted in whatever this was going to be. It was indeed odd that in the couple of years of knowing him, Annie and Heather had both met several friends of Matt's. Matt was an outgoing and gregarious man, but they'd never met Dan, who Matt shared a two-bedroom apartment with and had been friends with since high school nearly 15 years earlier. Matt rarely spoke of Dan except to note that he was rather shy and antisocial, but a great guy. But now, Matt had apparently gotten it into his head that they should meet Dan, and that Annie particularly should get to know him. Annie tried to laugh off her own dating related anxieties and just resolved to have fun tonight. Maybe she would hit it off with the mysterious Dan. She decided to keep an open mind. She walked through the semi familiar casual restaurant and saw a waving Heather already seated. Yo, Heather greeted her. You look beautiful. I love this shade of black, she said wryly, but affectionately commenting on Annie's mild goth aesthetic, which she continued to rock shamelessly as she approached 30. But Annie knew Heather was sincere about the beautiful part. I love this place, Heather continued. Haven't been here in ages. I know, Annie said. Oh, there's Matt. Hey, Matt. Matt was looking around the restaurant, seemingly nervously, in marked contrast to his usual smooth demeanor. He heard Annie's greeting and approached the table. Hey, guys, I came straight from work. Dan's not here yet, is he? No, Heather confirmed. Thank God, Matt said with relief. Thank God, Annie repeated. I thought this guy was your best friend. He is. I just wanted to introduce him to you personally. Okay, Matt, Heather said. Enough is enough. You wanted Annie to meet this guy. You've got to tell us what's wrong with him. Nothing's wrong with him, Matt asserted. Dan is amazing. We've been friends since we were 14. He's a great guy. Annie noted to herself that the phrase great guy had taken on an almost ritualistic quality from repetition. He's brilliant, Matt continued. Software engineer. He's been my go-to technology expert since the days of dial-up. He plays bass. Awesome taste in music, by the way. He volunteers for Amnesty International. He cares so much. He's a prince among men. Why is he so reclusive? Heather asked, undeterred. Well, he's shy, Matt said. Especially around girls. But I really think he and Annie could. You're clearly hiding something, Matt, Heather said. No, I'm not. Well, he's. Look, I don't want you to overreact. The buildup is probably making it worse, Annie said. Okay, Matt said with a deep breath. Dan is possessed by the devil. They sat in silence a moment as Annie and Heather attempted to process the objectively insane thing they had just heard. Wait, what? Annie asked. Or a devil. Possibly a generic demon. I know that sounds bad. It sounds terrifying, Heather said. Well, yes, Matt acknowledged. But here's the thing. He's only periodically possessed by the devil. It's a very unusual and admittedly very disturbing, but ultimately mostly harmless condition. I mean, most of the time he's perfectly normal. It's just that every so often he'll be going about his business and... Matt trailed off. And, Heather pressed. And the demon will just kind of pop in there. He'll take control of Dan's body and he'll say something really unpleasant and terrifying, but then he'll go away and Dan will be normal again. It's only for a few seconds at a time. And I, Matt continued ruefully, I'm partially responsible for it. When we were in college at Northwestern, we were messing around with this Ouija board. It was all fun and games until, whoops, demons enter my best friend's body. Like they do, Annie chuckled nervously. Exactly, Matt resumed. And we did what you do in these situations. We went to a Catholic priest, and he performed an exorcism, and it was 90% successful. It unfortunately just left Dan with 10% residual demon. Residual? Heather repeated skeptically. 10%? How does that even work? Annie asked, feeling much the same unease as Heather, but also a genuine curiosity. Yeah, it's like... Matt tried to answer, you know when you're flossing your teeth and there's one tiny piece of food that's jammed into your back teeth and you really want to get it out, but you just can't yank it out of there? That's how much of an evil spirit is currently inside Dan. Anyway, when he gets here, obviously we shouldn't mention any of this. Matt, it sounds like Dan is an entirely inappropriate person to set Annie up with. Annie was slightly annoyed that Heather was speaking for her, but had to admit her logic was solid. Look, I've probably scared you, but if you give him a chance... Yes, Matt, Heather said, you have in fact scared us, and I think our resulting fear is entirely appropriate. I think we should go. I mean, I don't want to be rude, Annie said. Rude, Heather scoffed. I mean, how often do you think we're going to get a chance to meet someone who's periodically possessed by the devil? Annie asked this jokingly, but on some level really meant it. It was then that a handsome young man, about Matt's age, walked in. Like Matt, he was overdressed for the establishment, but unlike Matt, his jacket was rumpled and his dress shirt half tucked in. He was looking around nervously, like he wasn't quite sure where he was. A lost little boy. Oh, I might be in trouble, Annie thought with some apprehension. Dan, Matt called out. Over here. Dan approached them, smiling shyly. Hey, Matt, he said. Dan, this is Heather. Hello. Heather said warily. And Annie, Matt said with significance Annie wished had been subtler, but what could she do? Hi, Dan, she said warmly. It's very nice to meet you. Yes, Dan said before quickly adding, thank you. Yes, you too. Dan turned to Matt and whispered, They know about my condition, right? Yeah, don't worry about it, Matt assured him breezily. I'm a little worried, Heather said just under her breath. I'm sorry? Dan asked. Nothing, Heather answered. Dan took his seat. So I forgot, what kind of restaurant is this again? He asked. It's kind of a fusion. Sushi and Tex-Mex, Annie told him. Sorry I'm late. The J train... oh yeah, Annie said. The subway is a nightmare this time of night. A sudden and terrifying change took place. Dan's green eyes were replaced by glowing red ones, and his face contorted into a ghastly, putrefied, corpse-like shape with an expression of pure malevolence, his soft-spoken voice replaced with a guttural growl. You talk of nightmares, girl flesh! Nightmares are but prophecies, foretellings of the endless horrors you will experience in hell! Annie and Heather nearly jumped out of their chairs in terror while Matt sighed in frustration. As quickly as he had changed, Dan returned to his previous state, extremely embarrassed. I'm sorry about that, Dan said, but, okay, you guys understand that wasn't me speaking just now, right? That was the demon, who sometimes controls my body. That's really pretty weird, man, Annie said candidly. I know, believe me, I know. But it's been part of my daily life for almost 10 years now. I've learned to live with it, but I know other people can't. How could I ask them to? He asked his last question rhetorically, more to himself than to the others. Matt quickly pounced on his silence. Did I mention Dan's a great athlete, too? He was a champion swimmer in high school. That's how we met. That's how we met, actually, the swim team, freshman year. Yep, but he just used to whiz past me. You still swim, Dan? Oh, I love swimming, Annie said. That's one of the things I can't really do anymore, Dan said sadly. I tried to go to the beach a couple of years ago, and, well, I had an episode. Matt nodded sadly. I hear you're a musician. Bass player? I bet that's something you can do in private, Annie said. Oh, it is, yeah, Dan said, brightening. What kind of stuff do you play? Oh, lots of stuff. Classic rock, 80s, 90s stuff, new wave, grunge. Oh, I love that era, Annie said. I'm kind of a metalhead myself. Black Sabbath, Metallica. Oh, yeah, Dan said. I used to play a lot of that kind of thing. But the thing is, it excites the demon. The demon really likes metal. So I can't really play that kind of music anymore. Awkward silence again descended on the four, which Matt again tried to puncture. So take a look at the menu. The steak here is delicious. The combination of the Japanese and Mexican cooking styles is like nothing you've ever... Just as suddenly as before, Dan went through his nightmare transformation. Your bodies will all be food for worms, while your souls roast in a sea of boiling hot excrement for the pleasure of the most sadistic gluttons of my eternal kingdom. Dan returned to normal, crushingly embarrassed. I am so sorry, he said. You know what I'm sorry about, Matt said. I'm sorry I missed the season premiere of American Idol. I heard it was blaspheming scum. You put your faith in idols because God has abandoned you. You have no choice but to let the Dark One embrace you in his murderous arms. It was around this time that an unfortunate server approached the table. Hi, she asked cheerfully. Can I start you guys off with something to drink? I will drink your fucking blood! The demonic Dan screamed. I think we're just good with water for now, thanks, Matt answered. The server retreated from the table in terror. Again, I'm very sorry, the back-to-normal Dan said, his eyes regretfully fixed on the floor. I thought that attack was over, but I guess it was kind of like a hiccup caught in the back of my throat. Does it usually happen this often? Annie asked. No, Dan said. It actually doesn't. I usually go hours and hours without having an attack. It's just that it happens more often in social situations where I'm nervous. I guess that makes me more vulnerable to it. Like when I'm around girls, he said with a note of despair. Oh, well, that's a good sign, Heather commented. Heather B., Annie began. Am I the only one bothered by the fact that a man I just met is growling at us and threatening us with boiling hot seas of excrement and eternal hellfire and all that? Heather asked. Because I'm really bothered by that. Maybe I'm just crazy and intolerant. No, you're not, Annie said. You have every right to be bothered by it. I'm bothered by it, Matt's bothered by it, everyone in the restaurant is bothered by it, and we do have a right to be, but I'm also trying to be sensitive to the fact that the person most bothered by it is Dan himself. He's the one who has to live with this every day. So I'm trying to show some understanding. Heather nodded, silently conceding Annie's point, and sat back down. Thank you, Dan said, clearly moved. You're welcome. Less sensitively, Annie asked, So hey, can you do that thing where you spin your head round and round? That hasn't happened to me as far as I recall. I actually don't know of any possessed people who can do that, Dan answered thoughtfully. Not that we all hang out or anything. Annie laughed. Dan laughed back. Matt smiled at this sign his matchmaking endeavor might just be working. Heather regarded it with caution. Is there any way we could just change the subject? Heather began. All of you will be subjects of Satan. You will be wretched slaves for all of eternity. Your stinking lecherous flesh will be peeled away by flames. Heather got back up. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm definitely leaving now. I love you, Annie and Matt. And Dan, I really do wish you the best, the part of you that isn't a demon, but I have to go. No, Dan said. Please stay. I'm the one who should leave. I'm sorry. I'm cursed. I shouldn't have come here. I ruined your night. Matt again tried to go for damage control. Dan, you wild man, you just sit back down, and Matt, I appreciate what you're trying to do for me, but it isn't going to work. You guys should just stay and try to have a good time, okay? Dan walked away and left the restaurant. Annie's soft, ridiculous heart melted for the bastard. She knew pity was no basis for love, but she also knew that in these brief, scattered moments she felt something else for this afflicted soul, exactly what she didn't know yet. I'm sorry, she said to Matt and Heather. I have to see how he is. Nobody's stopping you, Heather sighed. Annie followed Dan outside. Heather and Matt looked at each other awkwardly. As usual, Matt attempted to seize control. So did you know they actually stir-fry the sashimi and then they re-refrigerate it? Annie watched a chagrined, hunched-over Dan walk down the street, approaching the stairs that would descend to the subway. Dan, wait, she called to him. He turned around, surprised. Annie, I'm sorry. I know, but you don't have to keep apologizing. It's not your fault that you're periodically possessed by a demon from hell. No, it's not, he acknowledged, but that doesn't mean you have to suffer for it. Who says I'm suffering? At the very least, it's an interesting story. Nobody's totally normal. I'm one of those people who has to wash their hands 40 times a day. Oh, you have OCD? Nah, I was just trying to make you feel better, she admitted. I was thinking maybe we could go get a drink together. Wait, seriously? Not because I want to sleep with you, she hastened to add, without noting that she had been thinking about it and wondering what that would even be like. Because I want to get to know you. The transformation took place again. All you will know is torment and eternal... Dan seemed to will himself back to normal, slapping himself and expressing his fury toward the monster who haunted and sometimes stole his life. God damn it, will you just go away? He shouted at his infernal tormentor. The power of Christ compels you! Gah! Fairly sure he was at least momentarily rid of the unholy infestation, he turned to Annie. Are you sure you can handle that? He asked her. I don't know, she answered honestly, but I do want to find out. You seem like you might be worth getting to know. You know, the non-satanic part. I hope so, he said. Besides, she said with a glint in her eye, how do you know I'm not possessed by a demon too? Dan jumped back, startled. Oh my God, he cried out. I'm just fucking with you again, Annie laughed. I wanted to see if I could do the voice. It was really good. Scary when someone else does it, isn't it? It really is. Let's go. The end.